Howdy folks, I'm Tex, and welcome back to the Movie Shack. Well folks, I gotta start off with a bit of an apology, because I know at the end of last week's show I said that there was going to be a guest host on this week, namely my cousin coming down from San Diego, and well, unfortunately he just wasn't able to make it this week, so he said he's going to be here next week for sure, so just hold tight, you'll get to meet him soon enough. In the meantime, we got another classic gem from the early works of acclaimed filmmaker Sean McLean. This one's entitled The Town Monument Arrives, and much like many of the others we've been watching, this was actually intended to be one of a series. In fact, if memory serves correctly, The Town Monument Arrives was actually meant to be the second or third episode in that series. But for some rather unfortunate reasons, which we'll go into after the show, that series was never completed, and alas, this is the only episode that was ever done. So let's kick back, relax, and enjoy The Town Monument Arrives.
The town monument arrives. Hey, you up there? How about giving me something to sit on, eh? No, not a toilet. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks. That's better.
Boy, it sure would be nice to have a town monument.
Yeah, it sure would. Hey, you! This guy's thought of everything. Let's go see.
Come on, let's go.
Hey, did you take the cover off? Oh, wow.
I hope you enjoyed this film. Bye.
One thing you probably noticed right off the bat was, hey, he learned to focus on the titles. Yeah, something I kind of neglected to mention last time, despite it being completely obvious, was you may have noticed the title cards for the race, both parts of the race, and the to be continued, were horribly out of focus. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I mean, obviously he had no trouble focusing on the actual main part of the show, but for whatever reason, he just couldn't nail it on those titles. I don't know why. But anyway, at least he narrated them. I think that's why he narrated them, actually, was so that you'd know what they said, even though you couldn't read them worth spit, you know. So anyway, The Town Monument Arrives, as I mentioned, was meant to be part of a series. And it was going to feature these little plasticine characters. He actually modeled those characters out of plasticine himself. And they're just a little ball with a nose and some eyes stuck on them and stuff like that. So it was supposed to be the adventures of the little orange one, which is kind of like the youngin', and then the gray guy with the blue hat, who, by the way, you may have recognized from the, I believe it was the second last episode of Spiffy. He played the mechanic who essentially pronounced him unfixable and got him condemned to the junkyard. Yeah, well, we may not have liked him in that one, but he was a pretty nice guy in this one. So essentially the youngin' was going to be the one who was going to learn something or what have you, and the guy with the hat was going to be sort of the mentor character. And then in this one, you notice that Sean actually incorporated himself into it as a character, sort of the omnipotent guy in the blue pajamas that was, you know, trying to help him out by giving him a chair and stuff like that. That was a pretty nifty idea. So anyway, there's another story that goes along with The Town Monument Arrives and just sort of these little animated films in general. Now, every year at Sean's school, they would have a science fair. And Sean had entered several years in a row. He did thing about the human skull, and he did something about, I think he did something about volcanoes at one point. And anyway, this year he decided to take a bit of a different spin on it and talk about the science of film animation, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he called it. So anyway, for the project there had to be two parts, a presentation and then a display, sort of a diorama kind of thing that would actually go on display at the public science fair, where, you know, folks could invite their parents and whatnot to come along and check out all their work. So for the class presentation part of it, Sean actually hauled in the Super 8 film movie projector and put together a compilation of what were some of his favorite shorts from his works over the past year or so. And he was really proud of them, and you know, this is long before the days of YouTube, so I mean, this was a way for him to actually show them to an audience, and a captive audience at that, so they had no choice but to sit there, watch them, and by golly, they better like them. Well, needless to say, they liked them, but as kids will be kids, I think it's safe to say a few of them were just a little bit jealous. Because when the night came for the actual public science fair, Sean had put together a display with some rudimentary explanations of how stop motion animation worked and how film worked and things like that. All the basics were covered. And then for visual aids, he thought this would be a nice treat for those who had been in the class and seen the movies. He put the actual plasticine models that were used in the movie on the display. Just took some, you know, twist ties and tied them up to the display. Had them all laid out there. So some of the ones that were included were the two little ball guys who were in the show, and the town monument itself was up there as well. So he knew the people who'd seen the movie would say, oh hey, that's the actual models from the movie. That's pretty cool. Yeah, wow, little piece of movie history right there. I can actually touch it. Wow. Well, it seems some kids got it in their heads to do a little more than just touch it. Yeah. Because when Sean brought his parents to the display to proudly show off his work, he discovered that the plasticine models had been squashed. Some jackass had taken his thumb and squished the eyeballs of all the characters. So they were just little nondescript blobs of plasticine. Yeah, that's a real impressive display. Well, needless to say, he didn't win the science fair. I mean, he wouldn't have won anyway, but he didn't care. He was just happy to have had an audience to show the movies, you know? And they loved them. They loved them. Class reaction was through the roof. Tore the house down. And then they tore his display down. Well, yeah, so essentially Sean was pretty upset about that. Needless to say, it was not something that's a real stroking of the ego, you know? More like a punch to the gut. Yeah. So, unfortunately, I guess, I don't know what the whole story was, if he didn't have enough plasticine left over afterwards to put together, or if this was around the same time he got banned off the camera. I don't think it was. I think actually Town Monument Arrives is one of the earlier ones he did. He did it around the same time he did the very first Spiffy. But, yeah, so for whatever reason he never revisited those characters other than that one appearance in that one Spiffy episode. Well, obviously from before the science fair. Man, more's the pity. Kids sure can be cruel. Anyway, that's it for now. So next week, I promise, my cousin will be here if I have to drag him here kicking and screaming, because I got several more shows to show you that I just know he's going to kick butt at presenting for you. So let's see if we can get him down here. Alright, that's it for now. So thanks for watching the Movie Shack. I'm Tex. See you next time.